Welcome to this explainer. If you're the parent of a struggling reader, you probably already know the absolute exhaustion of the special education process. You fight for the meetings, you gather mountains of paperwork, and finally, you get it, Assigned Individualized Education Program, or IEP. You probably breathe a massive sigh of relief, assuming that, hey, because this legal document exists, your child is finally going to be taught how to read. But here's the hard truth we need to unpack today. Assigned IEP does not guarantee reading instruction. We're going to explore how to tell if that plan will actually teach your child to read, or if it just kind of stops at accommodations.
So here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the IEP illusion, then the difference between coping and learning. Third, the 5 absolute must-haves for reading. Fourth, what to do if the school says no. And finally, getting your child real help. Let's dive right in.
Section 1, the IEP illusion. It's incredibly common to treat that signed IEP like it's the finish line. You think, okay, the meeting's over, the legal document exists, the reading help just has to be inside it. But as we're learning today, it actually might not be. An IEP is really just a framework. Treating it like some magical cure actually keeps parents stuck because what that document does for your child depends completely on the specific language written into it. Think about it this way. 2 kids with basically identical scores can walk out of the exact same school with totally different plans, just based on the wording. Whether an IEP actually teaches reading depends strictly on the instruction explicitly written into those pages. Moving on to Section 2, coping versus learning.
This right here is probably the most critical distinction in all of special education law. An accommodation is the ramp that gets a child into the building. Instruction is the therapy that helps them walk. Such a powerful analogy, right? Every single line in an IEP is doing one of 2 jobs. It's either lowering the barriers so your child can just get through the day, that's the ramp, or it's actively rewiring the brain to decode words, which is the therapy. Once you can distinguish between those 2 things, you can read your child's plan line by line and know exactly what it's actually going to accomplish.
Let's look at how this plays out in the real world. First, you've got accommodations, things like extra time, audiobooks, text-to-speech, maybe shorter assignments or a seat right next to the teacher. These are designed to help your child cope. And don't get me wrong, they absolutely matter. Struggling readers need them just to keep up with grade-level material. But here is the crucial catch. Accommodations never actually teach reading. A child can use them for years and still not know how to read. On the flip side, you have specially designed instruction. This is the stuff that actually closes the gap. We're talking about direct, systematic, structured literacy. Think Orton-Gillingham or the Wilson Reading System. It means a highly trained provider is delivering multiple sessions a week. That is the part that actually moves a reading score. So when you're looking at an IEP, you have to look right past those accommodations and hunt for the instruction. If it's not there, your kid's reading level will probably stay exactly where it started.
Section 3, 5 must-haves for reading.
I really want to ask you this directly. Does your child's IEP actually have teeth? I challenge you to pull out that document right now and look past that generous list of accommodations. We need to look for the specific toolkit required to give an IEP real power. If a plan is genuinely meant to teach reading, there are 5 absolute non-negotiables. You need 1, a program named by name. 2, a provider who is actually trained in that specific program. 3, a frequency of instruction that's intense enough to close the gap. 4, measurable reading goals. And 5, frequent progress data. Here's the big warning though. If you leave even one of these out, the whole plan can look absolutely beautiful on paper, but do literally almost nothing in practice. Let's break those down into some actionable steps. Step 1. Ask exactly which structured literacy program is being used, and insist they write it by name in the plan. Just writing specialized academic instruction doesn't cut it. That's a category, not a method. Frankly, if no one can name the program, there usually isn't one. Step 2. Pin down the provider. Federal law actually doesn't require a specific credential to teach reading under an IEP, crazy as that sounds. So you have to ask who is delivering it and what their exact training is in that named program. And step 3, secure the frequency. Structured literacy literally works through repetition. 20 minutes once a week is never going to close a reading gap. You need specific minutes per session and sessions per week locked down in writing, not just promised to you across a table.
Now, here's a trap so many parents fall into. Seeing a goal like will improve reading comprehension sounds amazing, right? But it is not a valid goal because honestly, no one can be held to it. Goals have to track real, hard reading metrics. You need to see things like decoding accuracy, words correct per minute, spelling, and phonemic awareness. And every single one of those needs a baseline, a target, and a specific date. On top of that, you have to demand frequent progress data. You should be getting the numbers every few weeks so you can track the trend long before that annual review rolls around just to tell you, oops, things didn't work out.
All right, Section 4, what if they say no?
This can be such a terribly frustrating roadblock. So often, families hit this wall where the struggle is super obvious at home, but the school turns around and claims, well, their scores just aren't low enough for an IEP. Instead, they'll offer a 504 plan. Now, a 504 plan provides accommodations only. It can definitely make the school day a bit easier to manage, but it absolutely cannot teach your child to read. Accepting this alternative will not solve your child's core reading struggle simply because a 504 contains zero specially designed instruction. Underneath all that bureaucratic red tape sits a really profound truth. Qualifying for help and actually needing help are two completely different things. A child can easily be turned down for an IEP and still desperately need serious reading instruction. That eligibility decision, it only tells you what the district is willing, or maybe able, to provide. It tells you absolutely nothing about what your child actually requires to learn. So what are you supposed to do? You use your legal maneuvers. First, you can request a special education evaluation in writing at literally any time. Once you do that, the school is legally obligated to either evaluate your child or put their refusal in writing. And if you disagree with their findings, you have the legal right to ask for an independent evaluation. The main takeaway here is do not let a verbal no be the end of the conversation. Which brings us to Section 5, getting your child help. But what happens when the school system is just simply stretched too thin? Even if you push for all 5 elements we talked about, the program, the provider, the minutes, the goals, the data. Some schools just cannot deliver. And honestly, no amount of meetings is going to change what a maxed out system has the capacity to do. When those internal meetings fail, or the plan ends up being instruction in name only, your next step is to seek a comprehensive dyslexia assessment. You have to pinpoint exactly what your kid needs. After that, step 3 is looking for reading help outside the regular school day, or seeking out specialized environments, like Read Academy, for example, where reading instruction isn't just squeezed into the margins, but is actually the foundational core of the entire school. I want to leave you with this really empowering reality check. You do not need a better meeting. You need a better written plan. An IEP is not a cure, it's merely a record of promises. And to turn those promises into actual teaching, you have to demand the specific language that guarantees it. So here's my final question for you to take away from this explainer today. Read your child's plan against that short list we went over. What's missing? And even more importantly, when is your next conversation with the school? It's time to audit that IEP and start advocating with real clarity and confidence.